Good afternoon, and welcome to another thought-provoking episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your theatrical and thick-skinned host, Voice of Doom. Alright, gonna do another last-minute diatribe. I always lay around and then wait till the last possible moment to put an idea together, and then I rush it out, hope for the best. Alright. Much as a lot of people would love to talk about transgender issues and other things that are happening, the price of mayonnaise. This Armageddon business is kind of an overriding theme, and I'll probably stick with it for a while. I'm not going to go meandering off into the old topics that have kept us divided. But let's talk about the war. Now, listening to the touts, and they have guests on that are quite scholarly, PhDs in political science and Mideast affairs. And they get on, and the first question is, what's to be done now? And many of them come up with answers that are brilliant, that show me that they are not sentient adults. The answer is we should have an immediate ceasefire and then get the hostages back. Well, why don't we just have a magic wand and make everything all better? We'll stop firing on you, you send the hostages back, and we'll go back to the way it was before. Now, that's not going to happen. They threw down the gauntlet too badly. It's one thing to lob rockets into an apartment building on the Gaza border somewhere, and it's another thing to send savage terrorists into an area and just willy-nilly murder civilians, especially the most vulnerable, the babies, the toddlers, the families, the elderly. So there's no putting the toothpaste back in that bottle. But what are they going to do? And there's other touts that say, they killed 1,300 Israelis, but they've already killed over 3,000 people in Gaza. So it's even. It's already a lopsided war. So they should have just stopped at 1,300 and said, okay, that's our quota, let's go back to the way things were. Now, the stupidity is rampant. Petri dish spent about 6 hours in Israel and got nothing done. He said, we're standing behind you, 100% Israel, but please don't escalate the war. Now, everything's already pretty much done. They have to go after Hamas. If they go after Hamas, Hezbollah says they're jumping in. They have to go after Hezbollah, and then other countries will jump in, and then Iran will eventually do something overtly, and there will be a big hullabaloo. And I'm also not happy about the fact that the Persian Gulf seems to be heating up because American bases in Iraq are being attacked. And that means the Strait of Hormuz is going to be a hotbed. And where my kid is going is going to be a hotbed, Kuwait. So I decided I was going to talk about one thing, and then I had a flash of brilliance, and I'm going to go along with that. I want to set up a scenario, do a little mind exercise, something for people to think about. and it may or may not have the effect I want it to, but let's just go on with it. It's going to be totally off the cuff. Now, let's just say that back in the 1800s, America annexed the southwest part of the United States through a series of treaties and wars with Mexico. And they established Arizona and New Mexico and Texas and Southern California as part of what used to be the United States. Now let's just say they did that. Now let's just say that there were long-held grievances by Mexico that was all unjust, and that region belongs to Mexico by rights. Let's just say there are people that think that in the country. Okay, now let's just say that over a period of decades and centuries, certain factions emerge in Mexico that are more militant about their desire to reclaim those states for Mexico. And let's just say instead of calling themselves Hamas, they call themselves the cartel. Now let's just say the cartel is embedded in various towns across the southern border of Mexico. And let's just say that these cartel people are mixed in with the common populace, and they set up military installations in hospitals and in churches and in schools. And let's just say the cartel doesn't want the citizenry to leave, even though they're in jeopardy. And let's just say this cartel every so often decides to lob rockets into what used to be the United States. And let's just say that the United States, I'll just call it that, we'll assume it used to be, has to purchase hundreds, if not thousands, of Iron Dome apparati to shoot down rockets. So they have to put those all across the southern border, hundreds of them. And let's just say rockets are continually fired into the United States, and these Iron Domes are shooting down the rockets. But every so often, maybe 1 out of 10 or 20 of the rockets get through and blow up a residential area in Arizona or New Mexico. Or blows up a hospital, or blows up a school, or blows up an apartment building or a shopping center. Now, let's just say that the forces of the U.S. decide every time that these rockets go off, they have to respond, so they send flyers to Mexicali or Tijuana saying, we are going to bomb this place, so please, all you citizens, leave. So all the citizens leave, and all the cartel leave. And they bomb the hell out of Tijuana, but nobody's there to bomb. Well, we have to go after these cartel people, but they're not staying behind when the citizens leave. So we're going to start bombing in earnest, and we're not going to give any warning every time a rocket hits one of our schools or any of our states. So they start bombing, and then innocent civilians get killed, and cartel members get killed. Oh, we'll take out their strategic areas, we'll take out their this or that. Now let's just say that the cartel finally gets an idea that they're going to throw down the gauntlet. And suddenly hundreds and hundreds of cartel people sneak in over the border and slaughter 1,000 people in El Paso. And do it in horrible ways, and they videotape the whole thing. And then they take a few hundred Americans hostage and take them back over the border and hide them in hidey holes in Mexicali and Tijuana and all the other border towns, and even deeper and deeper into the country of Mexico. Now, I want to know what people think we would have done about that. Just think about that scenario. Would we say, let's have a ceasefire, let's bomb 1,000 Mexicans and then call it even, and then we'll negotiate and try to get the hostages back? I think we'd nuke the whole country at that point. I think we'd leave Mexico to be a decimated nuclear wasteland, and we'd feel very righteous in doing so. So that was a little scenario I gave you to give you something to think about, and I could go on with that scenario, because then there would be Americans who would say, we're being unfair, we're being draconian, we're being overbearing. All they did was kill 1,200 people and kidnap 200 others, and we're bombing the hell out of them. That's not right. And then they would sympathize and say, yes, well, Mexico always owned Arizona and New Mexico and Southern California and Texas, so why don't we just give them the southern part of all those states? Give them Southern California, give them Southern New Mexico, etc., etc. And they'll be happy. Well, that's what's happening now. Only it's happening way over there. So we can say, oh, the way to stop this is to have a ceasefire and get the hostages back. That's real good diplomacy. That's real good political strategy. Just make magic things happen. So that's all I have to say about that. It wasn't a very good one. I think I gave you something to think about, though. So I'm going to head off to work again, and I hope people kind of think about what I just said. And I will expand on that theory and idea in the future, because I know I can come up with more stuff that will make people think. So we'll call it a day here, and enjoy the lull in the hostilities. Thanks, and bye.